Hey guys, it's Lady Raven, the Wild Witch, and welcome to The Witch's Inn. So for today, we are going to actually be talking. Hold on, let me move my thing here because I'm way off to the left. See if I can move that this way. And then it can be, there we go. So basically for today, we are going to be talking about the differences between group practice and solitary practice. Now, um, there's a lot of benefit to be gained from both. I know that a lot of times there are people that says, well, if you have not practiced in group, then you haven't done anything. Well, that's a bunch of poppycock because you can practice solitary your entire life if that's what you want, or you can practice in a group scenario. In a group scenario, I'm talking about a coven of some type, and I'm talking about some like a group that will maybe meet together for sorry. I'm talking about a group that will maybe meet together once a month just to get together and to practice together and all of that. So those are the two types. So let's talk about solitary practice first. And solitary practice is basically you just practicing by yourself. You come home, you read your books, you do your witchy stuff all on your own. You don't need anybody else. You may have a mentor here. You may have a class you're taking there. There may be a bunch of different folks that you may help with. And you may meet together with some groups in a social situation, but you're not part of a coven. So you're just kind of a group meeting together, doing your own thing, and then all of you go back home to your individual practice. I think individual practice is extremely important. Even if you decide to join a coven later, you still need to maintain your very own individual practice. And that's because your relationship with the divine is a one-on-one relationship. It is not a one and a whole bunch of people relationship. So when you go and you meet in coven and you do the ceremonies you want to do, it's about group coming together and supporting. It's the same difference, for example, for Christians when they go to church, right? Church is a group. Church is not about spirituality. It's more about connection and meeting people there. Spirituality kind of comes secondary. And it's kind of the same thing with a coven practice, right? You may have people to bounce ideas off of. You may have people to connect with. But ultimately, when you're looking at your personal practice, you're looking at your own spiritual growth, nothing is going to do better for you than having your own personal practice. So that's something that every witch should establish early on, and it should be something that stays with you for the rest of your life. Basically, our everyday practice may change, but the fact that we're still doing our work should not. So that is solitary practice. There's no tradition for solitary practice. I mean, you may learn from, this person or that person. You may take Christopher Penzek's class, or you may take, Raven Gramasi's class, or whoever's classes you're taking, or my class even. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are a member of a coven per se. So you are a member of a learning group, but not a coven. So once we move from there into, let's say you've practiced for a few years now, you're like, I'm interested in growing. Let's talk about coven practice. So what can coven practice bring to you? So coven practice can enhance your practice in the way that you can find other people to practice with. You can learn, there's going to be elders in your coven, generally there are, and they will be happy to mentor you and to teach you things that you may not know yet. It gives you people to bounce ideas off of. It gives you a second way to double check the things that you experience. You experience something, you're like, oh my God, is this real or am I crazy? Because this happens. If you're a good witch, you're going to be in that in between state a lot, and that is just because it's the nature of. If you're not questioning yourself, then I would have questions. I would have issues. So we are constantly questioning ourselves. It's how I grow, and it's how we all move forward in our practice. But being part of a group means that you have somebody else to bounce an idea off of, and you can say, hey, this is what's happening to me. Is this normal? Did you undergo this when you were starting out at the same point that I am? What else can I expect? So it really gives you a framework for connecting. The other thing that group practice teaches you, I think this is the most important thing that it should teach you if you have a high priestess who is competent, is it should teach you your place when you're working in group energy. So group energy means you have 5, 6 people together in coven doing a celebration. Whoever is high priestessing or high priest or high priestess, whoever is running that ceremony, it is their responsibility to keep everybody's energy in check. And this is a dangerous thing that we have a lot of problems with in our community where for public ceremonies. Not everybody leading a public ceremony knows how to lead a public ceremony, because when you have a public ceremony, you have different people that comes in, and one person's energy may be like blah everywhere, and then another person's energy may be like a black hole of death where they suck energy from everybody else. One person may feel kind of detached and disconnected. The minute that we all connect in ceremony and connect in group, at that minute, it is that high priest or high priestess or whoever the ceremony leader is. It is their job to keep everybody in the group on the same level and to keep everybody in the group protected, so that one person is not shoving the energy down everybody's throats and one person is not taking energy out of everybody. So there should be a flow. There should be a mediated energy controlled situation. And it is the job of the person leading the ceremony to maintain that in check. That's part of the reason why I don't attend public ceremony anymore. I will attend them if they're run by people that I trust and I feel good about, because every single time I attend a ceremony like that, I find that a lot of people who are leading ceremony may not necessarily understand what it means to hold that space when you are the head of the ceremony, to make sure that everybody is doing what they need to be doing in their own space. So that is basically the main job of a person running the ceremony. So it is their job to do that. And the person running the coven is going to be a very similar thing, but not just in ceremony, on an ongoing basis. If you have one person in your coven who is a total drama queen and always dragging everybody into their crap and whatever it is that's going on, it is the purpose and the job of that high priest and priestess to be able to work with that person to know when is it okay to just discharge over everybody and when is it not okay to do that, and then let's do that one-on-one. So a good high priest or high priestess, or sometimes covens will have one high priest and high priestess and a bunch of elders. Sometimes there'll be several of them in a coven, but their job in general is to make sure that everybody is enjoying their time, is getting what they need out of their time in coven, and that nobody's rights are being violated. So there are, oh, hold on, we have a question. Marissa, sounds like it's hard to find the right people. It can be hard to find the right people. And I think that the most important thing in coven is to find the group of people that you resonate with. Because if you resonate with people, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to understand that balance, and make sure that you understand and resonate with the way that they practice, that it matches kind of what it is that you're looking for. And those should be questions that you should ask when you're joining a coven to the high priestess. What's your training? Who did you learn? What's your lineage? Did you have any training outside of that? And if they get upset, that is a huge red flag, because I'm going to tell you about what happens with witches a lot. So when you are sitting there and hosting ceremony and you're leading ritual, you have like a boatload of energy running through you at that moment, that you've got everybody in the group, all their energy runs through you, and all the energy of the spirit work that you're doing is going to run through you. So it's very easy to get a big ego boost and to think, oh my God, I'm like the most powerful thing in the world, look at me. And so a lot of times that can go to people's heads. So if you enter a coven where it's not okay for you to question the high priest or high priestess, that is a huge warning sign. If they get all offended when you question them, when you ask them a question, if they have vindictive behavior, all of those things, a lot of times they can be corrupted by their own ego, and you run into that problem. And none of those things are okay. If you are in a group scenario where you feel it can be borderline abusive at times. You can have a high priestess that will belittle the members in their group, that will tell them that they're wrong all the time, that will force people to do all kinds of crazy worshiping like things. If you are in a situation like that, step away. That is not a healthy coven to be in. And let's see. Melissa's asking a question again. How do you find the right people? It's just a matter of trial and error. So when I was first looking for a coven, I connected with probably about 7 or 8 covens, and a lot of them were good covens. They were good people that were leading it. I got a good vibe from them. They were just not practicing in the way that I wanted to practice. So it wasn't for me. So when you go in and you start coven shopping, you need to ask those questions. Back in my time, we used to use Witchfox to search for a coven. But now you can probably do a search on Facebook, or you can go into your local metaphysical store, and say, are there any covens in the area? And if so, where are they? How can I get in touch with them? You can do a search for, covens in your area, and see if you can find any coven websites or something like that that are located in your area. There's a lot of different ways. You can go on social media and look. You can go on social media and post and ask. You can start following different types of accounts on social media that will have a lot of coven work. A lot of them will do online coven. My coven is online because we have people from all over the country. And so all of our work is done over Zoom. And there are covens that do a hybrid method. Some of them will do online and some of them will do in person. And then there are those that are going to do strictly in person. They're not going to do any online at all. So it's a matter of stepping in and finding what it is that you're interested in. So let's see. I have been practicing alone for a long time. I identify as a shaman, not a witch. Is it important to practice people in my same craft? Shamans don't have covens. Shamans will have groups, they'll have lodges, they'll have things like that that will connect together that you want to practice in. If you are a practicing shaman, you should be in an shamanism is very community based. Let me just say that. Shamanism is not about the individual practitioner. You know, the job of a shaman is to go into the other realm, bring information to help give clarity and healing to their tribe, their society, their group. So shamanic practice is very different than witchcraft practice. So I practice a blended version of it. I practice a blended version of shamanic witchcraft in where I participate in both worlds, in shamanic world and as well as the witchcraft world. But so it's a matter of looking for what resonates and what feels right for you. Some covens will be very traditional, which means when you step into your coven, this is one way we teach, this is one way that it's acceptable, and this is it. So for example, if you go and you train with the Gardnerian coven, they are going to be very much following Gardner's version of Wicca, right? All of their practices, everything that they do in that tradition is going to be associated with a specific format and layout that was laid out by Gerald Gardner, and then that gets passed down from lineage to lineage to lineage. You can also have covens that don't have any kind of lineage like that. Every coven is going to have some type of ground rules, but you can also have covens that don't have a lineage in a specific tradition, right? So, for example, in the coven that I'm in, the coven that I lead, I do have a lineage of everybody who is in my witchcraft tradition. And then I also have a lineage in my shamanic tradition that I practice. But that's just for it's not normal the way that I practice. So if you're looking for a practice, it's a matter of a few questions you want to ask yourself. What kind of people do I want to practice with? What kind of witchcraft am I interested in? Am I interested in Wicca or am I interested in witchcraft? Some covens will practice with specific deities that you have to work with their deities when you come in. You can, on your private, personal work, you can do whatever deities you want, but when you're doing coven work, you have to work with their deities. Some covens don't practice with specific deities. They just use Lord and Lady, and you can practice any way you want to with that coven. Some covens will follow a specific pantheon. You have covens that have an Egyptian flair, or you'll have covens that have a Celtic flair, or a coven that will be more Norse related. So there's a lot of different options when you are looking for that. How would a shaman go about finding a lodge or building a community? Well, if you're depending on where you are, you can just start looking for, shamanic training or practice nearby. And you can go in, and a lot of them will offer public ceremonies, and you can go in that way. If you are in the Charlotte area, I highly recommend looking into Otter Dance. That is the group that I'm affiliated with, and I'm a huge fan. I love both of the founders for Otter Dance are fantastic. Robbie Warren and Brandy Wynn. And so you're always in a safe environment. You're always in for, to learn and to share and all of that. So they offer a lot of events, and you can sign up on their website. They also offer access to dances and things like that. And that's a great way to get involved in a local community. If you're not local to the Charlotte area, I would say go online in your area and look at shamanic groups near me, or shamanic training or shamanic practice near me, and you'll be able to find somebody. And also step into your local metaphysical store. They'll be able to make you a recommendation. They should have a good knowledge of the groups that are around them. practicing with them, so they should be semi-aware of that, and they'll be able to, send you in that direction. I've met Brandy. She's wonderful. I've moved back to Los Angeles. Oh, so you're in Los Angeles. You should have tons of people out there. So what I would do is I would just do a search and look at you have tons of metaphysical stores there, and just look for shamanic practice near me, and then you'll be able to find people near you that do that. You can also try meetup.com. A lot of times, a lot of groups will put their information out on Meetup, and then you can meet up with other people through that platform. So that's another good way to do that. Good questions. Good questions. Anybody else have questions about personal practice versus public practice? And there's a couple of other things that I want to tell you that for me are red flags when you're looking for a coven or for group practice. Oh, no problem. Good luck. I hope you find what you're looking for. But anyway, a couple of other things. Number one is if there are any kind of sexual favors requirement, run as fast as you can the other way. Some covens run it that way, and it's not necessary to run it that way anymore, and it's not that is not something you should have to put up with. If you have a coven that requires you, they may require you to pay for your training, and that is actually fairly normal. Or a lot of times, if you don't pay for your training, they may require monthly dues to be added to the coven that you pay to be a member of it. And that just covers supplies for everybody. It covers also the time and effort that the high priest or high priestess puts into bringing this together. So in my coven, for example, we charge for our training, but we don't charge a monthly fee. So, because obviously everybody's working on their own at home. If you become a coven member, then you get a training at our coven at a discounted rate. But a lot of the training that we offer is the same training that you can sign up for as an individual student at our academy. So, but yeah, you can do it either way. If you have a coven that has a lot of them will have, you don't have to pay for training, but you have donated time, which is a common thing, which means you go and you help the high priest or high priestess in exchange for the training that they're giving you. And that is a very valid way of doing it. I would just be cautious, because there are a lot of high priests and high priestesses that will take advantage of that sometimes. If they're requiring you to come over to their house a few times a week and clean their house, if they're requiring you to go and do all this personal stuff for them, do errands for them and all of this, I would take a minute and think about that. The work that they're asking you to do in older times, in olden days, that was a requirement, but that is not as much as it is anymore. A lot of times they'll ask you to do something that is coven work related. So maybe what you need to do is, there's coven ceremony happening at their house in a week, and part of what your training, part of your donated time is to come in an hour early and set up for that coven so that they don't have to worry about that. So that would be a very appropriate way to do that. Or if they need you to run some errands and pick up supplies for the next ceremony, that is also very appropriate. So when you're looking for a coven, if you listen to your gut, that's really going to be the best thing. And if your gut is saying, these people, I'm not sure, then don't go with it. So it's a matter of just finding the right people. And also be very, very sure that you ask what kind of training somebody has, especially if you're looking for initiatory practice. I would be very reluctant to go into a coven where the person who is leading that coven has not gone up through their training, through their initiations in another coven to understand how to work with group energy. If they are somebody who self-initiated this entire time and have been leading their own coven and have never been a member of another coven, I would be very, very wary of that, because most covens are going to teach you a way that you are able to lead ceremony in a coven environment and keep everybody safe. And if you have not practiced in an environment like that and you kind of taught it to yourself, without having somebody really watching over you and making sure that you're doing it right, how do you know if you taught yourself the right way or not? You don't. So I'm very reluctant when it comes to that. I mean, I think that anybody can learn, anybody can initiate themselves for things like that. But if you are looking at initiatory coven practice, make sure you come from a place where they've received proper training and they're going to give you proper training. I'm not a big fan of self-initiated into coven work, because you don't know what kind of foundation they have. So that would be something else that I would be very, I would ask a lot of questions of in the very beginning. And then just, just keep an eye out if they are very protective and not, I mean, sometimes there will be a lot of things that will be secret. What we call in coven work oath bound, right? So if they come in and you say to them, show me how you do your rituals, a lot of that may be oath bound. We can't show you that. But if you should be able to ask them, where's your training? What does your coven work with? What are your deities? What kind of give me an overall feel of what your coven is all about and how you guys work. They should be able to answer every single question. And if your high priest or priestess gets their feathers ruffled when you ask them to what is their training and what's their background and how do they have this experience, I would also run the other way. If they get upset by being asked those questions, you already have an ego problem right there, and it's only going to get worse. So I would run really fast the other way if that would happen. Does anybody have any other questions? This actually went a little bit longer than I had expected. So if you guys want to check out the Wild Academy, we do have our last ceremony this month, I believe, for the Witches Roundtable. I think it's this week. I will double check that and make sure. And don't forget that, Autumn Mist, hello from Clover Lake Wiley. Hey, I always enjoy the different ways you relay information, your knowledge and energy. Thank you for providing those here. You're very welcome. Very welcome. I enjoy coming in here and talking to you guys, so that's really fun for me. And then we're going to have the Energies of October. If you're signed up for the Year in a Day group, that is going to be happening later on this month. I think it's like either Thursday or Friday, whatever. I think it's Thursday night that we're going to be talking about the energies coming up in October. You can join in on that by being a member of our Year in a Day group. So that's basically it, guys. That's all I have for you guys today. And if you have any questions, feel free to post a reply to this, whatever platform you're looking at it on, or you can go to the Wild Community and post your question there. And if you want to join, it's Wild Community, WYLD community.com. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.